So, new Guardian Heaven, new god. Basic kit is she has a whole bunch of passives. It's her crystal. She always has 10 HP 5, and the rest of these water crystal bonuses, earth crystal bonus, fire crystal bonus, and metal crystal bonus, they all give her stuff. So as she uses her skill, she'll get bonuses like movement speed, physical protection. Her auto attacks will hit targets within 15 feet for 50% damage. This is actually interesting. It's not like a splash damage thing. They're actually auto attacks that are hitting anyone that is around your target. Meaning if you have a like Telekind's ring, it'll proc the 40 damage on anything hit by the splash. It's not ability damage. It's an actual auto attack similar to Mercury's 1. So that's her passive. Her passive basically she'll just get all these. And when she gets all of them stacked, she becomes a snake. And let's see. Refreshing duration, all crystal bonuses for another 10 seconds. So she gets pretty powerful if she gets all 5 crystals active at the same time. Meaning she's like a spellcaster spammer, so you're going to want a lot of cooldown reduction. Her fog, she has a fog that surrounds her for a little bit. She gets 95% of her movement speed on that fog, so it'll follow her around pretty closely. But if you're in the fog and not attacking, you're going to be stealthed. This includes Nuwa and any god that's in it. So you could actually be super stealthy and secretive with it, and there's a lot of mind games you can play with it, but it's mostly going to be a juking tool. It also does a little bit of damage, but the damage is really significant. Think Agni Gas Cloud damage, like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 damage plus 10% of her magical power. Her scaling on that is awful, so it's not going to be that useful. But you do get movement speed, so you can increase your juking capabilities, and it's pretty good. Clay Soldiers, she will summon essentially minions. She'll just summon minions from the ground that have health equal to 200 plus 20% of Nuwa's maximum health. So you can actually get these things pretty tanky if you build some health, and they're going to attempt to attack, they're going to push lanes, they're going to attack structures, they're just going to be extra minions that you can summon whenever. This is supposed to help her be good at pushing, but really what it's going to be used for mostly is tanking things like in the jungle for you, or your minions side, you can summon those to tank the minions. Sure, when you're pushing tower it'll be helpful, but they don't do that much damage. If you look at the amount of damage per hit, that's not that much. The big thing though is you do get physical protection for free from it, which means you can be pretty tanky. Also another thing to note is look at all these cooldowns: 14 seconds, 18 seconds, 12 seconds, 60 seconds. So she's going to really want CDR to bring those down so that you can actively get elemental crystals fully stacked a lot. Flame Strike. This is a new interesting skill. It will actually deal more damage if they're closer to you when you cast it. It's a ground target that's kind of like He-Bo's knockup, and if you're close, it's going to deal more damage than if it's far away, so like a reverse Isis Spirit Ball. It also will stun towers and deal damage to towers. So your allies trying to get out from under tower, you can actually stun the tower. Or you can use it to poke the towers you're pushing up and get damage on it. It also stuns enemies too, so this could be a decent ganking tool as well. But it's probably her most reliable and high damaging poke. And it does essentially has 70% magical power scaling plus 1.5. So if you were to cast it on top of yourself, it could have potentially 105% scaling and have decent damage. So that should be pretty good. It's probably going to be her strongest skill and the one you max up first. Pillars of Heaven is her ultimate. She summons 4 pillars and makes a box that it essentially imprisons everyone. It has like lightning that connects all 4 pillars, and if you're an enemy and you walk through them, you're going to take damage, a significant amount of damage, but it's not the highest damage ever, but you will not want to walk through it often, and you're really heavily slowed. 55% slow at max level is going to be really huge. You also get the metal crystal, which doubles your basic attack damage, so this can be really useful if you're getting a lot of auto attacks off. And the big thing to note is its cooldown is 60 seconds. Most people's ultimates are much longer. I know Odin's is only 75 seconds, which is below normal. The average is about 90 seconds. So you're going to be actually using this pretty often. And again, cooldown reduction will be really good. They say, Haya says the role should be solo lane and mage mid, or potentially jungler. I don't think she's going to be good in the solo or the mid. She lacks really the push to do anything. Sure, she could probably hold the lane, and I mean, we're going to have to see when she's actually played, but I feel like she's just going to get pushed out by all the popular picks right now. And so you're really going to see her in the support role, because having a a stun poke is going to be really powerful. And being able to push the wave with your ally and save your ally due to various things, and like your fog can be used to juke. And Pillars of Heaven is going to be a really great fight initiator in the support lane. And her scaling isn't that good. Like, her scaling is only decent on Flame Strike. Every other scaling is pretty awful. She's probably going to be a support. It'll be interesting to see what really happens, but who knows. Jungle could also be a possibility. I don't know. Her gank could be good. Her clear could be okay. Her Harpy contention could be actually really good with Pillars of Heaven. So we're going to have to see, but her role is going to be either support or jungler. It's not going to be solo or mage mid. We got some new skins. Golden Thanatos, Golden Jonqui, Amethyst Nuwa. Pretty nice looking. Amethyst Nuwa is like pink and gold. It's really actually quite pretty looking. And voice packs for Nuwa, so every god still has their voice pack. Friends list got some overhaul. New user tutorial has been revamped, so the tutorial will be better. I want to go see what they did with it. My stream is freaking out a little bit. Okay. DirectX 11 is going to have some preliminary support, which will be interesting, so we'll see what that is. Background of the god screen and home screen is modified, so it probably looks prettier. Jump is now enabled on all gods, so every single god in the game will have a jump now. So the ones that didn't have it before can now join in the jumpingness. Disable URLs should no longer collide with player cameras. I'm not sure exactly what happens with this, but I'm not sure exactly what it means, but I assume it was people getting stuck in the wall and having some weird camera issues. Some bug fixes, rewording, bug fixes, rewording, nothing really else interesting. New free god rotation is pretty decent, pretty interesting. It'll be interesting to see what people do with Basta and Hades now that they're free. I bet you a lot of people already know Hippo, Tyr, and Xbalanque, but Basta and Hades isn't played that much, and I think they're underrated for what they are, so we'll see what new players do with it, if they don't have the god pack. Spectator got some nice changes. It doesn't really matter much until you're watching it in tournaments and stuff. Pretty much if you're just watching it, it'll look nicer. There's some audio quality that got improved, which is good. So, okay, items. Only two big changes. Aegis Amulet hierarchy has been split into two variants. One is Aegis Amulet, which is the familiar one you know. Using the item makes you invulnerable from damage for 2 seconds, and you can't do anything. After the invulnerability fades, you gain a 20% damage reduction buff for 4 seconds, and this can be used even while under the effects of crowd control. So, this essentially will act as a beads in a way, but you're just going to absorb damage. And it's pretty similar to the one we have now. There are a few cases where if you're CC'd, you couldn't Aegis, but this should make it so you can. Aegis Pendant is different though. When you use it, you're invulnerable for 2 seconds, and you can't attack, but you can move. So this will probably be the stronger option, and you're gonna pair it with beads. A lot of the times you can preemptively Aegis anyway, and your whole goal of Aegising is to prevent damage. So if people start CCing chaining you, they're gonna blow their damage. You're probably gonna want this one. Aegis Pendant and Sprint could also be an interesting combination, but we'll see. I expect people to pick up Aegis Pendant because mobility is really important in this game, and being better positioned. Like, a lot of the times when you Aegis Amulet, you're just going to die anyway because you're still caught out of position, because you were likely caught out of position in the first place. Aegis Pendant is probably better. The other big change, and this is a really, really big change, is Eye of Providence. It got a huge nerf on every single rank, meaning wards are now... The Eye of Providence is worse. You're still going to get it. Like, it's still going to be pretty much required on supports, but it's just weaker now. And this is an indirect buff to junglers as well, because it makes it so that we have more gank paths and we have less sight on us. But the big thing is Tier 1 is going to be... You're only ever going to have like 2 wards out at a time. Tier 2, it now spawns a standard sentry ward, or standard ward instead of a sentry ward, so you can't start spamming sentry wards early. You have to get to rank 3. And it now respects line of sight on the final rank, so you can't toss it like behind the red buff and see into the red buff camp. You actually have to throw it over the wall, and then you lose sight. So red buff, which used to be a really, really popular ward spot, is no longer going to be one. So this will make supports weaker, but I think it was kind of needed. At the same time, we'll see what happens. I mean, it's going to incentivize your teammates to get wards even more now than before, but I expect what will happen is a lot of people just end up dying because they don't have the wards that they were used to. I mean, we'll see. Now to God balance changes. There aren't that many balance changes, but we'll go through them. The warm-up hit area indicator, it now shows earlier on Rain of Fire, meaning if you are... hold on one second. Okay. If you see Agni and he's about to ult you, the ult will still go at the same speed, but like if he's going to do over the wall and you're like you see the ground targeter, you'll see this sooner, giving you more time to react. So this is a slight indirect nerf. He probably won't be able to stealth bomb you as easily, but it shouldn't make any difference to Agni. Agnes and Cobb just got a fix, so no changes there. Aphrodite now goes off of both targets, and any target within the overlapping area is only hit once by the explosion originating from Aphrodite. So it's only gonna if you're right next to each other, it'll back you away from Aphrodite, not your ally, if they overlap. So this should make Aphrodite even a stronger pick than she was. And Aphrodite has already been starting to be picked up more often, so I would expect to see more Aphrodite, especially with this change, because it makes her really, really useful and like durable in team fights. Arachne got a buff. Like, why did she get a buff? Like, why? Why? Hold on. Why? Why did she get a buff? I know it's to bring her more in line with the other assassins, but this is essentially a free, like, her biggest counters in the jungle were like Hebo jungle and Freya jungle, because they could actually deal with Arachne to some degree, and it was really inefficient for Arachne to build magical protections, and like magical damage dealers would shred Arachne. Now she has an easier time against those matchups, and so it's only a buff. So I don't know. It's not the biggest buff ever, but like I was expecting her to eat like a huge nerf this patch or a huge change, and I'm slightly disappointed. Ares fixed an issue. Athena fixed an issue with the Magic Blessing not properly referencing the highest tier in the recommended items. So if you're using recommended items, you should see Magic Blessing there now, or at least properly referenced. Drunkometer fixed a typo. Catcall. Ground target is now properly indicating where the ability can't be used, so I guess when you were like against a wall it said it would be used, but you couldn't use it and you'd get confused. So that's good. Chang'e actually eat some nerfs this time. Moonlit Waltz, the invulnerability duration and the fire time by 0.2 seconds on the tail ends. So now it's going to be it's going to be shorter, so you can't dodge as much. And Moonflower Dance got a damage and healing reduction, and we'll see how that really plays into the matchup, but I expect this won't change her too much. She's probably still going to be quite good and quite competitive. 20 damage is not the biggest nerf ever, and that she'll still be really, really relevant. I think the better nerf to have gone with would be an increased cooldown, or maybe slightly less scaling, or actually deal with the ultimate. That's probably the problematic thing of her kit. But she's going to be a little bit less effective, but not too much. She's still going to be able to time her Moonlit Waltz properly to avoid being ganked. Her pushing shouldn't be that hurt. This won't be the difference between whether she clears a wave or doesn't, so she's still going to be useful. Cupid got some visual improvements on the jump to Little Devil Skin, and the ground targeter got visual treatment when it's in an invalid location. I guess it's similar to the cat call. Fenrir. So if you grab someone while you're ulted, so if you grab that stealth Loki, now they're going to be revealed while they're in your mouth, so that's good. That's a good change, because I bet you that would be like a really confusing edge case, but I mean, it's probably what should happen. Freya, she no longer gains magical protection with each level to be consistent with other mages, so she's actually going to be a little more vulnerable to dying instantly from magic damage dealers. This opens up a few things. If you want to look at Freya's current one, let's see, what's Freya's current one? Gods. Freya. Overview. So she is gaining 0.6, so she's going to be a little bit weaker. If you have Boots and Void now, you're going to be dealing true damage to her for most of the game until she gets to really high levels. Oh no, you're going to be dealing true damage to her where before she'd get a little bit above your true damage range. So she's going to be more vulnerable to Agni, she's going to be more vulnerable to like the high-end mages, which means that like she might not actually get her ult off in a few cases. So this is a relatively decent nerf for Freya, but Freya is still going to be a good pick. I was surprised not to see any Mercury Changes, but we'll get to that later. Hell got a buff. Hell was a little bit lackluster, and so now the movement speed increase has been buffed decently. 5% is a decent buff to it. Now the heal should be the movement speed from the heal should be more noticeable and better. I don't think Hell needs that big of a change. I think this is a good place to help Hell out. Hercules fixed an issue. If you were targets could jump to avoid being tossed. That was a bug for a long time. I'm surprised it wasn't fixed until now, but it's fixed now, so that's good. Should also see Hercules being picked up more often, because you could actually do that to like really cheat out the system. And Hercules, I think, wasn't being picked a lot because of it. If you knew about it, you could kind of screw Hercules over. So we should see more Hercules to fight against Tyr in the lane. I think Hercules would be a good matchup against Chang'e too. I'd be hard-pressed to see a Chang'e actually kill a Hercules. Isis, her 3D targeting mesh have been turned back on. So I guess those are disabled for a little bit. Now they're back on. Mercury got some typos fixed. Made You Look now indicates that it scales off basic attack damage rather than item-based physical power, so it's less confusing. And Sonic Boom, Hydra's Lament and Hydra's Demise no longer proc when the targeter is cancelled. Apparently, if you clapped with Sonic Boom, you'd get your proc of Hydra's Lament and Hydra's Demise without actually doing anything. And I mean, that could be abused, but I don't think really people were building Hydra's Demise or Lament or Demise that often anyway. So it's not the biggest change in the world. Naja, Windfire Wheels is now immune to root effects while dashing. So this means like if a Neith tries to ult on, like a Neith roots you or you dash into a Artemis trap, it'll just go through it. You're immune to it. I bet you this fixes some edge case issues where like the ultimate behaves weirdly, but overall it's a buff to Naja. Odin, fixed typo showing percent physical power in the K screen. Yeah, if you look at Odin, I think it's correct maybe on here. I think a lot of people are confused over it too. Yeah, passive physical power. It says 5, 10, 15, 20, 25%, which would mean if you were to get like 300 physical power, you could just get like 25% more. That's not what it actually did. It only gave you 25. And so that's being fixed now. And that's currently what it does. It's not actually what it's giving you, it's just a typo. Fixed a bug with high C skin on Sobek. I had said skin twice. Sun Wukong. Let's see, anything big? Oh yeah, he got a pretty decent nerf. Okay, Undefeated Body now only applies at 35% instead of 50%, meaning that he's going to be more vulnerable for for a longer period of time. This will hurt his survivability and damage potential in fights. He's going to drop faster in fights because like the protection he got is pretty significant when he dropped to 50%. So 15% more damage without being mitigated is huge. Somersault Cloud. Now it has a 20% or 20-second longer cooldown at rank 1, and it eventually becomes 90 as you max up more and more. This means he's going to be much more vulnerable for more often. Like if you gank the lane and he uses his ultimate, he's going to be weak for like almost 2 minutes. And so you can actually go back and gank him again. Or if he uses it in a fight, he might not have it for the next fight. So Wukong ate some serious nerfs here. They were kind of needed. I think they were pretty good nerfs. He's still going to be good, but he'll be easier to deal with. He won't be such a I get out of everything for free type deal. Okay, Thanatos. Increase the healing from a successful hit on your Death Scythe to 75%. That's pretty good. This will make it so that if he gets a 1, he can heal a good portion of his health back. In Hovering Death, he got increased movement speed to 150% instead of 100. That's pretty huge. He's going to be a lot faster in his ult now. He'll go a little bit further, his range will be higher, and he'll get to fights quicker. That being said, I don't think this really, like, a lot of people are like, oh my god, why did Thanatos need a buff? Well, this doesn't really break Thanatos. It makes it more rewarding to land your Death Scythe and a little bit less punishing when you use it, because you do have to use health to cast it in the first place. And Hovering Death, it's easy to juke, it has a really big tell, you can use skills to avoid being hit by it, and this really just makes him more useful. It's not going to break him, but you might see him used more. Thor got a slight buff. Mjolnir's attunement, so his hammer throw got a reduced cooldown. This could actually be really, really good for him. It might seem relatively insignificant, but an extra 2 seconds sooner means he can get out of a lot more fights, get into a lot more fights, use it more often as poke. I don't think this is going to bring Thor back, but it's a good start. He's still really, really good, and I'm kind of scared to see what they do to... I feel like they're going to buff him further, and I'm scared to see what they do with that, because Thor is one of those cases where, like, he's really, really... His kits are really solid, just as a kit in general. And so when you mess with this kit, he's very easy to become broken. Tears, or a tear. A meditation was incorrectly using the second rank in the recommended items, so that was fixed if you use the recommended items. But Fearless, now if the enemies are caught in the pushback, they're going to be revealed. This mainly applied to... There are a few cases where like you'd catch someone in Fearless, but they'd remain stealth, and then like they just run away from you, and you'd be like, I don't know where they went. Now if you actually hit them with it, it's going to act as a CC and de-stealth them, which is good. Volkan, any big change? Nope, just fixes, and fix an issue with it, it would target towers. Oh, I thought that was intended. I guess that's a nerf, because now he can't push towers as well. Okay. Actually, I didn't realize that. That is a nerf. Xbalanque. So now when you right-click, you won't cancel the toggle on branching bolas. It no longer interrupts the basic attack refire time, and so you could eventually auto-attack, toggle auto-attack, and you could attack faster, and you would remove the penalty for your movement speed. And that was like a big thing for Xbalanque. So that's actually kind of a nerf if you were using that bug, because that bug's been around for a while. But they made it so it no longer cancels when you right-click, and they fixed an issue where like you get like 3 branching bola icons, even though it didn't give you any bonus stats. You just had these icons on your interface. So they fixed that. They fixed the visual effects on Shards of Ice, and there was a bug where like even if it was like canceled, it would continue, which is weird. So they fixed that. They just cleaned that up. Let's see. Oh, cool. Now when basic attacks kill someone, the minions will get electrocuted to death, which will probably look cool. And they nerfed Lightning Storm, which is his ultimate. So the build-up time is now 0.6 to 0.9. So the ultimate isn't going to be as fast to cast now as it was. So this is a decent nerf to Zeus. I already think he was in line, maybe a little bit too strong. I think this will definitely bring him into line, but we'll see. Zeus is one of those characters that like one good ultimate wins fights, and this will just make it so those good ultimates happen less often. And they fixed a tooltip issue about how many protections he gets per stack. So Zhonghui is still Zhonghui, and Zhonghui is still good. A little bit disappointed, a few things. Mercury, I'm not even sure he really needs a nerf. He might just need like a slight tweak in like where his power falls, because I think there's a lot of power on his 2 and his scaling potential that like probably shouldn't be there. But Chang'e got nerfed properly. I don't know why Arachne got buffed. It seems really silly to me. I'm sad Amuz and Cobb didn't get buffed, but I don't know what the win percentage is. But right now, in terms of competitive play, Amuz and Cobb just doesn't deal enough to be compatible with like the other ranged AD picks. You can't get enough. You aren't strong enough to really compete. And some other big changes. Zeus. Zeus is now going to be a little less effective. You should be able to predict when his ult's happening more often now and get out of it quicker. So that's good. There are no Kali changes this patch, which I was expecting, but it's what it is. It'll likely be out next week or 2 weeks from now. I'd rather them get it right than try and rush it out to appease people, so I'm not terribly upset that it's not in this patch. I don't think they even promised it'd be in this patch anyway. So yeah, that is my opinion on the patch notes, and I'll be doing these for pretty much every patch that comes out on this channel, so if you want to like follow or subscribe is the word. If you want to subscribe, I'm going to be doing these every time patch notes come out, so yeah.